Okay, I want you to imagine this. You commit a terrible crime, a really horrific crime. But then you wake up and have absolutely no memory of it. Your defense? You were asleep the whole time. Now, this isn't some plot from a movie. This is the very real, very strange story of the sleepwalking killer.
So let's set the scene. It's May 24th, 1987. A 23-year-old man, Kenneth Parks, gets up from his sofa, he walks out to his car, and in the dead of night, he starts driving, 22 kilometers down a dark highway.
He eventually gets to his in-laws' house. He has a key they gave him, so he just lets himself in. And then, he attacks them, brutally. He kills his mother-in-law and leaves his father-in-law with severe injuries.
After all that, he drives straight to a police station. He's dazed, he's covered in blood, and he says these exact words. What's crazy is that his own hands are completely mangled, tendons severed, but he says he can't feel a thing. He has zero memory of what just happened.
And right there, that's the core of this whole mystery. Parks' defense was that he was sleepwalking. I know, it sounds like something out of science fiction, but could it be real? To figure that out, we've got to look at what's actually going on inside our brains when we go to sleep. Yeah, this one case really forced everyone, lawyers, doctors, you name it, to face this incredibly weird question. Can a person actually be a killer while they're asleep? The details here are just baffling. Okay, so Parks had a gambling problem, and he was planning to ask his in-laws for money. But here's the thing, he loved them. Everybody said they had a great relationship. There was no motive at all. And then he confesses right away, not even realizing how badly he's hurt himself, with no memory of the attack. It just begs the question, how can your body become a weapon while your mind is completely checked out?
Well, the answer is buried deep inside the way we sleep, in this strange disconnect that happens in our brains, every single night.
The official term for this is somnambulism, and really, it's just a biological glitch. Think of it like this. Your brain is a car. The engine's running, the wheels are turning, but there's nobody in the driver's seat. The body is literally acting without any permission from the mind. See, our sleep is basically split into two big states. You've got REM sleep, that's rapid eye movement. That's when your brain is super active, you're dreaming like crazy, and to keep you from acting out those dreams, your body is pretty much paralyzed. But then there's NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep. And this is where it gets interesting. During NREM, the brain is quieter, but your body is unlocked. It's free to move. We go through these cycles all night, and sleepwalking almost always happens in stage 3 NREM. That's our deepest, most out-of-it slumber. You know that feeling when you're woken up from a really deep sleep and you're all groggy and confused? Well, that's the state a sleepwalker is in, except their body is up and walking around. Now look, the Kenneth Parks case is terrifying, but it's a massive outlier. Most of the time, this weird half-awake state doesn't end in violence. In fact, sometimes it can lead to some really complex, even creative stuff. I mean, check this out. There's a guy named Lee Hadwin who creates these amazing portraits while he's asleep. But when he's awake, he can't draw at all. Or Robert Wood, who whips up full-on meals, omelets, pasta, all in his sleep. Even the famous cricketer Sachin Tendulkar used to sleepwalk. It just goes to show you that the sleeping brain can pull off some incredibly complicated things. And it turns out this often runs in the family. There's a huge genetic link. If one of your parents was a sleepwalker, your chances pretty much double. And if both of them were, whoa, your odds skyrocket to over 60%. So this isn't just random, it's a trait that gets passed down. But genes aren't the whole story. For people who are already prone to it, certain things can kick off an episode. The biggest culprits? Not getting enough sleep and being under a ton of stress. But other things can do it too, like sleep apnea, certain medications, or even just a fever, especially in kids. So you really shouldn't think of this as some super rare thing. Almost 7% of us, that's millions and millions of people, will sleepwalk at some point in our lives. It's definitely most common in kids, but it's way more widespread than you might think.
Which brings us right back to the courtroom. If this is a relatively common thing, what happens when a sleepwalker commits a crime? How in the world does the law handle an act when there's no conscious person behind it? And this is where the legal system just hits a wall. See, to be convicted of a crime, you usually need two things. You need the act itself, and you need the intent to do it, what lawyers call a guilty mind. A sleepwalker clearly does the act, but where's the intent if their conscious mind is totally absent? The verdicts in these cases just show how tricky this is. So in Canada, Kenneth Parks was found not guilty,
But then, a decade later in the US, a guy named Scott Failiter was found guilty of murder even though he used the same defense. And way back in 1957, a case in India actually set a legal precedent that yes, sleepwalking could be a valid defense. It's all over the map.
So why the different results? Well, it often comes down to what happens after the crime. Kenneth Parks didn't try to cover anything up. He went straight to the police. Scott Failiter, on the other hand, tried to hide the murder weapon and his bloody clothes. To a jury, those actions just seemed way too complex, too purposeful to have been done by someone who is unconscious. It all boils down to whether the things they do around the crime point to a conscious mind being at work.
Okay, so moving beyond the courtroom drama, sleepwalking poses some very real everyday dangers, not just to the person doing it, but to anyone around them.
Yep, this is so much more than just a harmless quirk. People have fallen down stairs, walked right into traffic, or even tried to drive a car. The risk of someone getting seriously hurt, totally unintentionally, means that creating a safe environment is absolutely crucial.
And look, simple things can make a huge difference. Locking doors and windows, putting safety gates on stairs, just clearing junk off the floor so they don't trip. And hey, if you ever come across someone sleepwalking, the best advice is to not yell or shake them. Just gently guide them back to bed.
When you boil it all down, sleepwalking shows us something really profound about ourselves. It's not ghosts or anything supernatural, it's a neurological glitch. But it's a glitch that pulls back the curtain on this strange divide between our body and our mind. It's a terrifying but fascinating glimpse into a state where our body is up and moving, but the us we think of as our conscious self is just gone.
And that leaves us with this huge question, one that really gets to the heart of our entire legal and moral system. If a body does something, but the mind isn't there, where does the guilt actually lie? It forces us to question everything we think we know about responsibility, about free will, and about what it even means to be in control.